Good morning from South Korea. This is Tammy, Texas Desert Rose. Thank you for joining me once again. And if you hear, as usual, some noise in the background, that would be our activity outside in the sky, our helicopters and such. So keep that in mind, please. I don't think they get too loud, though. Um, so, what I want to talk about today is I was watching a documentary on happiness and the happiest countries in the world, and really got me to thinking because when you leave your country, you also leave what you there's a lot of assumptions that you grow up with that are normal, that I grew up with that were normal. And there's nothing like leaving even your city, your state, but particularly your country, your culture, to learn how things could be done. Sometimes better, sometimes not, but how they could be done. Like the way that we do things, or at least in Little Denton, Texas, are not the only way. I think it was Kurt Vonnegut that said, I traveled the world and came home without a country, so to speak. That's a paraphrase. I haven't checked the exact quote, but it really hit me that that is so true. There's nothing like traveling to exhaust you, exasperate you, and enliven you with so many different ways of doing things, whether people run you over, or they, like here, walk down the street in the middle of the street like it's a sidewalk, or the Neapolitans, Naples, they literally use the sidewalk for a street. I mean, like, there's so many different ways that I wasn't used to. Um, those are just a few examples. But I was watching this documentary, and it told about the top two countries that are determined to be the happiest in the world, and I'll tell you who those are. But what they based this on was the GDP per capita, i.e., the gross domestic product per person. Like it determined how much was the population and what was the income for the country based on per person, so that otherwise you can't compare someplace like Ireland with China. You need to do per capita. So that was one of the factors. Second is healthy life expectation, as in, can you expect to have a physical, mental, emotional, healthy life? Okay. Freedom to make life's choices, huge, right? Because freedom is a big part of it. Social support, meaning, and we'll get in more into that, but do you have the support? Do you have a hospital that is valuable, that's quality care, that you knew you could go to? If you couldn't make your bills, do you have support? Do you have a place to go, for food, or when you, just things like that, childcare support, things like that. The next value is the generosity of the area that you would be living. And because that's a big deal too. I can tell you some of the places that I've really enjoyed, it did not matter. My key is how open and receptive are the people, how friendly are they. And not that I expect that, but that's something I've come to know in all the countries I've lived in, that I need that. I need, they don't have to be like best friends, but at least some kind of cordial reciprocation. And the last part that they measured it against was the absence of corruption. Okay, so the top two really, Finland and Denmark, are determined to be the happiest. And interestingly enough, their average income, or their average salary, is 31 to 32,000 a year. That's US dollars, to measure apples to apples. To compare with the US of 45,000 average salary per year. So, and interesting part about that is that in another study that I saw and researched, and make sure it was valid, all that, is they showed that the happiness level that you're at the day before, the week before, the month before someone wins the lottery, you will be back to that same level of happiness within 6 months after winning the lottery, which tells you, blanket statement, happiness is not completely determined upon how much money you have, which is what we tend to think, and certainly I thought. That is within, I believe the cutoff level was about $30,000 to $35,000. Now that was with prices that, I mean, obviously they've really gone up the last 6 months, year, 2 years. But at average, your happiness is determined on your salary up to about $30,000, $32,000. But after that, how much you have does not sway the happiness pendulum either way. I would imagine that, yeah, if you need food, you need to make sure you've got a place to lay your head. Your happiness level is going to be determined on that. But after that, they said people who lost everything, people who had everything, all of that, it ceased to matter 6 months after enjoying all the excitement of winning the lottery. So that tells you a lot, right? Or it did me. So speaking of, so that's as far as the GDP per capita. The health of the living environment in Finland, in Denmark, really very supportive of each other. Now, they did make the determination that even though it was the happiest places in the world, didn't mean that they were friendly, and they're working on that part. But from what I understand, and I experienced this in Germany, in all the places I lived in Germany as well, that you can have, and Germany's pretty high up there as far as places to live as well, but you can have peace, serenity, and joy and happiness in a place, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be received, especially as an expat. And for those who don't know what an expat is, because to me it sounded like it was a horrible thing, but it's basically somebody who lives in a country and they're not, that's not their, they don't have a visa there, or they don't have, that's not their country of record. And so any place I live other than the U.S., I'm considered an expat. Our military is considered expats. Their families are considered expats. But how open is the country to expats? And I would imagine that depends on whether you're a tourist, whether you're there temporarily, or where you settle. Surprisingly enough, just throwing this in there, surprisingly enough, one of the top places that I find that people want to retire to, because as you travel around, you go, I kind of like in this place. I think I'll retire here. My anecdotal information, meaning people have just said it to me over time, and I've talked to a lot of people. I've been traveling and doing this stuff for about 15 years now, and China is one of the top places that our teachers who teach overseas, they want to retire to. And Vietnam is the easiest place to get a permanent visa over any other country. And the quality of life and the beauty and the kindness of the people and the receptivity and all of that is pretty amazing and very inexpensive. I also found that in Lisbon. Very, very friendly, very, very open. And, you can pick up what would cost you, at least in Texas, which I know is much cheaper than the rest, than a lot of other parts of the U.S., a 322, 3-bedroom home that you might purchase in Texas for $200, $250, you're going to get for a lot, like $100,000 there, or a $500,000 home in Texas. You can pick up for $120,000, $150,000 in Portugal, and really, really nice people. So anyway, all that, getting away from the happiness. And what is happiness? I'm not here to say, we have to experience joy and, be joy all the time, but a sense of peace. Based on these factors, do I need to worry about locking my doors? I can tell you here in Korea, the crime rate, much like when I was in Okinawa, is very, very low. Many don't lock their doors. It's the Americans who lock our doors because that's what we're trained to do. You can leave your car keys inside the console, and no one's gonna touch it or you. One, it's the culture, but two, there's CCTVs everywhere, so they'd be literally, like, it would not be good. So it's just a different existence. I found the same thing in Bahrain. Everybody's watching, and that's just the culture, and you just don't do it. You don't do it. And so the crime rate is very low, at least in Bahrain as well. I can't really speak to the other UAE and other countries, but it was very safe, very, very safe. Germany does pretty well with that too. So, like, for example, speaking of crime, they were talking about how in this documentary, how I was about to say women, but it's not women, a parent would leave their strollers with their baby in it, all bundled up in front of the coffee shop while they went and did their errands, just walking around. Now that's some trust. That's when you know that if something goes wrong, somebody else is going to step in, and there's just this understanding that, it's a safe place. That really, really surprised me. That was quite a convincer. That's not just not locking your door to your home and your car. Wow. So let's talk about some of the benefits to living, at least in these two countries and many others. And I know this is kind of controversial, but I'm going there. The tax rate for them anyway is anywhere from 20 to 21% taxes each year. Now, compared to our 8-9% taxes, no way, right? No way. But let's talk about what they get from that. One, to have a baby is about €300. For those of you who don't know, that's right at $300 to have a baby. And when they go home, they stay a week as a family unit in the hospital room. And when they go home, they have a year's worth of supplies to go with you to take care of the baby. Literally, you're not having to buy anything, including like a box, but it's a bassinet. So you're not even having to buy a baby bed. So there's that support, €300. They can take off up to 2 years with that baby, either parent, and their job will be reserved and saved for them. That's a lot of security. Now, I know you guys have heard a lot of this. Vacations 5 weeks a year, a month in the summer and a week in the fall. They were saying that by around the 20th, 27th of October, Americans have worked the total amount of time that someone from these countries or European countries will work the whole year, because they believe in environment. They believe in having the serenity to take care of family's priority, and they don't have to fight. These are guaranteed benefits. Okay, that also includes your retirement. I didn't look or hear when retirement age is, but the retirement is also included in that. So there's a psychological comfort in knowing that's taken care of for you, and that you can make your family priority for those taxes that they're paying. That comes with all the other benefits that we get as well. Looking over here at my notes, child care, medical, retirement. So let's talk about, and the child care is taken care of when they do go back to work. And that's part of the process. So if you add up all of our costs, I think you might find that we end up paying a lot more. What's more, it's kind of a set deal, so they're not worrying about this going up, that going up. It's taken care of. Now let's talk medical care. I've always heard social medicine this and social medicine that. I don't really get into the politics of it, but I can tell you anecdotally, not anecdotally, I can tell you personally what it's been like for me. I have lived in 4 different locations in Germany. Um, let's see, the Middle East, here in Korea, Okinawa, visited Ireland, UK, and of course US, a lot of places in US. And I don't think I'm leaving any place out. But the arguments against social medicine are vast, but mainly what I've heard is the wait. You have to wait so long. If you have to go to the doctor, it takes forever to get scheduled. Takes forever to get in, to get referrals. I have been to hospitals and medical in 4 different countries, and that has never been the case. In Bahrain, quite a bit. I had to make lots of visits because I was there like 5 years, and there was a lot of medical stuff that went on last year, and I never had to wait. I was referred immediately. In fact, whenever I had a scare with a hernia, literally, I went to the doctor for a cold because I didn't know I had a hernia yet. She discovered the hernia, put me through a CAT scan, referred me, and I was seeing the specialist, and all that happened within about 3 hours. And so I know that's, some of that's the culture and it's more immediate. I found that here in Korea too. Went and got a checkup, a very extensive, like x-rays, blood work. They checked everything inside and out. And I was walking out within 2 hours and got the blood work within a week, which usually would be the same day, but they wanted to make sure it was accurate. And it cost me, I think, in dollars, about $30. So I'm not saying that we're all bad, we've done everything wrong, these countries have done it right. I'm saying we should at least look at our assumptions and possibly look at what might contribute to less stress for us, which is going to equal increased happiness or at least increased peace. And the reason I'm making these comments is because they've been my personal experience, and I'm still in Germany, I went and saw a doctor, and don't even get me started on prescriptions. I was able to pick up an EpiPen for I got 2 EpiPens and if you know anything about EpiPens, they are incredibly expensive if you don't have insurance, unless you order from Canada, Mexico, or wherever. I think it was $100 for 2 EpiPens, and I gladly paid it. Those things you don't want to be without. So the prescriptions, amazingly inexpensive, and in Bahrain at least, and I believe there was one other country, Naples, yeah. I could just walk into a pharmacy, talk to a pharmacist, and they would tell me what I could get, and I could pick it up right there without even seeing a doctor. There's some, it's amazing for the convenience. So the reason why I'm coming on here and talking about this stuff is I want you to consider that what our happiness is. I don't even know that I would consider it. I mean, everybody's separate. Everybody's different. They have to determine whether they're happy or not. But happy is, for me, a sense of peace, a not worrying at night, a knowing that I can make my bills and I can eat and I can have safety for my loved ones and for myself, that I can make money when I need it, but it doesn't have to be my everything. That's what my definition is. I would love to hear what yours is, and any kind of comments that you have about what I've said. Certainly it's my opinion, and I expect for there to be some disagreement, agreement, what have you. I would love to hear from you. So please share as you feel led, and thank you for listening. Blessings from Tammy.